Welcome to a video explaining to you exactly why Ron DeSantis is lacking the charisma that you would need to become the Republican nominee, much less the President of the United States in 2024. And granted, I don't think he'll ever have it. The guy's 40 years old and he still has not figured this key element of becoming a personality, and that is charisma. He has no Rizz. He has no charisma. He simply does not have what it takes to even surmount any sort of campaign that is not being absolutely completely astroturfed by the establishment. And moreover, tens of millions of dollars are fleeing the DeSantis campaign nowadays because of Donald Trump, showing that his charisma, despite many faults of personality, are triumphing over the propped up literally by heels to make the short guy act tall. This guy, Ron DeSantis, he's overcoming those stilts that DeSantis is propped up by the establishment. And so we're going to be breaking down exactly down to the smallest detail as to why, with examples, why Ron DeSantis is not electable, okay? So we're going to show you exactly what I mean. So let's go ahead and even just explain a little bit of this polling, because you'll get an idea as to what's going on. So if you look here, you're going to look at GOP 2024 polls, and you're going to notice right away that when you look at the Republican nomination, it's not looking so hot for DeSantis. Like, for instance, you look here. Donald Trump is leading by about 40%. He's at 52.7. DeSantis is at 14.5. DeSantis has been on the downtrend. There was a point where Trump was only at 45 and DeSantis was at 31. There was only a 15% gap. That has since widened to over double the difference. Now it's a 40% difference instead of 15. So clearly DeSantis was kind of close for a little while there in April, like 6 months ago, and then he completely fell off. The reason why is not because of any particular reason that could be explainable or excusable. The fact is that the guy, when put up to the scrutiny of the United States, when compared to other people, he falters. The same way that if you go on a trip and you're the only guy and there's only one girl on the plane, in the airport, there's only one other 20-year-old girl, she looks a lot hotter than what she would look like in campus. You know what I mean? That's the sort of idea. So yeah, Ron as a governor of Florida. Okay, wow, he's the sexy option. He's competent. Wow. But then you look and you see Donald Trump and he mogs him. And he doesn't even need to be at the debate stage for this to even be the case. But we're going to display some videography and show you some of the best sort of things. So these are the debate highlights made by the Ron DeSantis campaign for the first debate.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
But Ron DeSantis had the strongest night of any of the candidates on stage.
Our country is in decline. This decline is not inevitable. It's a choice. We need to send Joe Biden back to his basement and reverse American decline.
I thought it was over.
What was the emphasis in the way that he was talking? You notice when Donald Trump speaks, and I'll give you some examples, he has emphasis. Like, he'll start off he'll start off a sentence and the structure backwards. So he'll say the thing that is exciting at the beginning to get your attention, and then he delivers it in such a way that is disarming towards the end, or comedic. It's something that I would have to show you for it to make sense. Moreover, you look at somebody like DeSantis, he has no sentence structure in mind. It's completely robotic, and he has no sort of like differentiation and enunciation. And so that's a key part of charisma that he does not possess. Again, Donald Trump was Celebrity Apprentice, that sort of fame. Prior to the presidency, for decades, he had his own magnate interest, this own cult of personality, even if it was at a smaller basis, based out in New York, right? Whereas DeSantis, he was an attorney for the Navy, I think. And moreover, he was a congressman. And it's like, okay, but I mean, that's really small beans at that point compared to the presidency or being a billionaire playboy. So you're not Tony Stark, is what I'm saying.
Opening answer was very powerful, and that is, this is a...
Across the border, that's going to be the last thing they do. We're going to use force, and we're going to leave them stone cold dead.
I think he was the clear.
Was that intimidating when he goes, we're going to leave them stone cold dead? What? Is that intimidating from that little guy? Are you sure?
I'll tell you this, as your president, I will never let the deep state bureaucrats lock you down. You don't take somebody like Fauci and coddle him. You bring Fauci in, you sit him down, and you say, Anthony, you are fired.
He just stole a Trump line. Are you kidding me? Talk about charisma. And then he looks like he's holding in he's constipated, right? And you sit Dr. Anthony Fauci down and you tell him you're fired. That's literally what he sounded like there. It's ridiculous what he's trying to go for here. He tries to steal a Trump line, first of all, so plagiarism. And then the other point would be that he doesn't even deliver it half as well as what Donald Trump would do. It is just not personal. It just sucks. All right.
talk about all these other issues, but we've got to focus on your future. We've got to focus on reversing the decline of our country. I learned in the military that you focus on the mission above all else. In Florida, we showed it could be done. I made promises and I delivered on all of those promises.
No conviction, no confidence in the way he spoke. And granted, he's one of the only people on the Republican stage that has actually done tangibly good things for a state as big as Florida. But the way he says it promotes no confidence. And again, people will say Donald Trump is a bullshit artist. Yeah, of course, right? But then again, he's able to sell you something he doesn't even have and then take your money and lie. This guy clearly has the goods, but can't even sell you the goods at a discounted rate. He already did a lot for Florida, but he can't even announce that with confidence. Meanwhile, every other retail politician could do the same with much less acumen behind what they're saying. And so what I mean by that is to say this guy clearly does not have confidence. Moreover, I did this for the state of Florida. Bro, what is that? Also, he's rigid. He's trying to hold his shoulders like this. It's like really creepy when you pay attention, and women are really good at reading body language. So when they see a guy going like this, that's really gay to them. Whereas Donald Trump, he doesn't give a fuck. He's just going over here. He does what he wants. And that's actually cool.
2024 is make or break. We're not getting a mulligan. No excuses. I will get the job done. And as your president, I will not let you down.
Again, no conviction in what he said. No charisma in the way that he spoke it too. He says, no more mulligans. I will make America great again. What the fuck was that? There's no actual strength in what he's saying is my point. Now let's get a more, what you typically would see out of DeSantis. This was 2 years ago.
Say something quickly, and it's not just from Mexico. In fact, it's rarely from Mexico. You have over 100 different countries where people are pouring through. Not only are they letting them through, they're then farming them out all across our communities across this country, putting them on planes, putting them on...
Okay, let's look at the body language right here. You see the guy and he's going, they're going from Mexico and they're getting in planes and like this. So not only are you being flamboyant by using a lot of hands, which is like a Latin Italian thing, so you can understand why he does it. I do it, right? But the difference is that like when I do it or when Donald Trump does it, we're aggressive. We're moving our hands. This is our territory. You're my bitch. This is, okay, the world is my oyster, right? You reach out. I don't care what I touch, right? Whereas with DeSantis, he's closed off, shoulder pads here. He has the refrigerator build. He's fat. And he goes like here with a kind of like a double chin. He's like, guys, Florida, and he hides his hands and his palms beneath where the desk is obscured by the camera line, whereas an alpha would just grab the edge and go and speak the truth. So again, not Trumpian at all. So just look at his body language throughout the video, and it's very frigid compared to what you would see in the guy who's winning the nomination thus far, and that's Donald Trump. So let's look at a comparison from 7 years ago.
The question is, how do we keep America safe from terrorism? Trump says we ought to close that internet thing. The question really is, what does he mean by that? Like they do in North Korea?
We should be able to penetrate the internet and find out exactly where ISIS is and everything about ISIS. And we can do that if we use our good people.
You called Mr.
Again, that was such a bullshit answer by Donald Trump. He had no idea what the hell he was talking about there. But he was so confident that the average 60-year-old like hillbilly actually believes that. And frankly, again, he was kind of vindicated in the end of the day. So I guess those hillbillies were right. Listen, the point is, though, is that he was confident. He didn't even know what he was selling, but he still had the conviction of somebody that actually was in the right. He clearly didn't know what he was going to say, and he just made it up on the spot, and he winged it way better. Like it was Tom Cruise level of improv, like with all the machines breaking and you break your ankle and you finish the scene. That's what he just did there. He had no idea what he was talking about. He was called out point blank by a smart guy, small little man that like Rand Paul, and Rand Paul's like, this internet thing, and then he literally just goes verbatim and says, yeah, that internet thing, well, we're gonna win when we use our good people. And he points, even though he has no idea what he's saying, he says, we're gonna do it. He flails around. He has the physicality, okay? That is charisma. That is strength. That is leadership. And sure, was he bullshitting? Yes, but you kind of need that, okay? Because not every time is everything going to be scripted, as seen by Joe Biden, where when he's reading off something, he's all right. But when he veers off a little bit off of the prompt, all of a sudden, he's all inanimate. And Ron DeSantis is like a non-dementia version of that, where you take him off the plantation and he doesn't know what fruit to pick. So it's really, really bad for him.
Mr. Trump unhinged when he proposed banning non-American Muslims from the United States. Why is that unhinged?
Well, first of all, we need to destroy ISIS in the caliphate. That should be our objective. Donald, is...
You see his body language? He's like, we need to destroy the ISIS caliphate. Insecure. Again, Bush, you should know the most out of the Middle East, given what your family proclivities are politically over there. And it's like, okay, well, you have no discernible conviction or confidence in the body language that you're espousing on the stage. You're saying, we're going to destroy the caliphate with my double chin because I'm a 60-year-old guy. Okay, but where's the confidence? Now, let's compare that to another candidate right now.
great at chaos president.
Jeb doesn't really believe I'm unhinged. He said that very simply because he has failed in this campaign. It's been a...
You see that body language? Very different. He says, and again, instead of going in combative and saying, I'm not unhinged, I'm not crazy, he says, Jeb, he thinks I'm unhinged, I'm not unhinged. So again, body language, out. It's projecting out. Ron DeSantis, inwards, kind of like cat, kind of like gay, like limp wrist, sort of like this. Whereas Donald Trump, he's like, you're stupid, but I'm also calm, and I will completely destroy you. And he did. He did.
total disaster. Nobody cares. And frankly, I'm the most solid person up here. I built a tremendous company, and all I want to do is make America great again.
Donald, you're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen. And I do have the strength.
I'm at 42 and you're at 3, so
Doesn't matter.
far I'm doing better.
Doesn't matter.
So far I'm doing better.
Again, improv. There was no way you could have scripted that in the debate prep. So again, that's another thing. Donald Trump improvisational skills are through the roof compared to Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis would like, even if he had the statistic there that I'm ahead, I'm at 42% of the vote, you're at 3, he wouldn't have had the confidence to say that. Whereas Donald Trump just smacks him down like a dad and says, you know what, bitch, this is your place. You know what, Jeb, you're at 3, I'm at 42, you're way over there on the loser side of the stage. So again, confidence, projection, that's what you need.
You know, you started off over here, Jeb. You're moving over further and further. Pretty soon you're going to be off the end.
Don't lose your temper there.
I'm reminded.
So look at that posture. Again, he literally makes eye contact with Jeb and says, you're moving further and further. If DeSantis were to do that, he'd be like, Donald, you're moving further to the right. But he's looking away because Ron DeSantis is not a confrontational person. He is not the extroverted type. And that is somebody you need in office, not this fucking busybody nerd. Because if you want to do that, be vice president or be some sort of cabinet position or be secretary of defense for what I care.
Of what FD.
Again, this sort of posture up. He's taller than Ted Cruz. You go like this, full bore. And you know what? You go like this, chest up. You don't fucking care. You're the lion. You look around. You don't give a shit. Whereas with if it were DeSantis, first of all, he'd be way down here, but also he'd be like reading the notes, fretting, crying, seething, malding. So let's go ahead and keep playing this.
FDR's grandfather said, he said, all horse thieves are Democrats, but not all Democrats are horse thieves.
See, Ted Cruz actually has the fake charisma. And what I mean is, like, he has the charisma to kind of cajole your aunt or your grandmother into buying a sewing kit, but not any more than that. And so he comes off as phony to anybody with an IQ over 85. But the fact is though, like, if you're really stupid, you could see how he at least tries to act human. He kind of like makes the eye contact. He'll like have relaxed body motions. Whereas DeSantis doesn't even have Ted Cruz charisma, bro. And Ted Cruz got destroyed in 2016.
If your eyes are glazing over like mine, this is what it's like to be on the floor of the United States Senate. I mean, endless debates about how many angels on the head of a pin from people who've never had to make a consequential decision in an executive position.
But first of all, let me just...
That was way better posture. And again, I will make certain critiques like, okay, DeSantis, you're 5'7", you're kind of chubby, you have a double chin. But evidently, Chris Christie Cream is over here at 500 pounds like a Sigma, going out like this, grabbing the podium, leaning forward, goddamn almost breaking the podium, I'm assuming, right? Unless it's made out of rebar and titanium, right? So once you ascertain what sort of alloys would withstand his sort of like weight leaning over here, you get past that and you now acknowledge, you know what, the guy was grabbing onto the podium and he was also saying confidently with distinction, okay, here's this very tangible example of why Congress is whatever the hell, and he says it with confidence, right? He makes eye contact with the camera or the audience, whatever it is, and he delivers the message. DeSantis, again, would not do that sort of thing. And even Chris Christie nowadays would not do that because I guess he's dying of diabetes. We don't know yet. But
Just complain a little bit
This is the first time I've spoken, and several people have had multiple questions, so please try to pay attention to that.
He thinks he wants to be this.
Okay, that was super boring, but again, not as insecure as DeSatan, to be frank. So let's get a little bit more Trump in here before we wrap up.
I know what I don't know. I know what I don't know. I would seek out, as I have, the best advice that exists. I won't get my information from the shows. I don't know if that's Saturday morning or Sunday morning. I don't know which one.
Last month, you said you were open to naming Senator Cruz as your running mate.
I did.
So why would you be willing to put somebody who's a maniac one heartbeat away from the presidency?
But I've gotten to know him over the last 3 or 4 days. He has a wonderful temperament. He's just fine. Don't worry about it.
You see, he completely mogs it. So again, he didn't know that question was coming up. So again, improvisational skills. What are you going to do when it gets real? When the shit hits the fan, politically speaking? Again, this is nerd talk, but frankly, listen. So what you do is you go like this. They're saying, are you friends with this guy? You're like, and then again, open posture saying, yeah, we're cool. Yeah, he has a good temperament. You pat him on the back. He's your bitch. That's what he just did. DeSantis would not have the confidence to do such a thing.
Okay.
And Ted just took it up the ass.
Senator Cruz, you have not been willing to attack Mr. Trump in public, but you did question his judgment.
Hey, YouTube fans,
So completely just mogs Ted Cruz. So, I mean, that kind of gives you an inclination, in all honesty, as to how this sort of thing works, okay? So, just the bottom line to summarize the video is that Ron DeSantis, in particular, does not have the charisma to carry out an effective campaign, and you can see that. I recently saw an article, like a couple days ago, that a $50 million super PAC, or whatever you call it nowadays, these people defunded they basically took their money out of DeSantis and put it into Trump, okay? So minus 50, plus 50 for the main enemy, okay? It's looking tough for DeSantis. And moreover, again, his total percentage of the vote has gone down from like 30-ish% to 15. It's tough. And you could say, well, there's more candidates now, but those new candidates are ass. The only candidate that is somewhat sexy in a political sense, of course, would be Vivek Ramaswamy. But even him, he's like at what, 7% or something? So it's clearly not just Vivek that is taking from DeSantis. It is just a lack of confidence. So a good third of the people that were for DeSantis 6 months ago were on Trump. Kind of like how a woman would be like, hey, my boyfriend just got unemployed. Okay, going over to Sugar Daddy. And guess what? It's Sugar Daddy Trump. He is the boss. He's going to say, you know what? Here's this, here's this, here's this. You could see that when you watch that first debate, clearly there was a Trump-sized hole in that whole thing. And the closest thing you got to it was either Vivek Ramaswamy or it was Kristi Kreme Christie. That was it. Ron DeSantis clearly did not step up to the mantle when he should have been the alpha in the room. When he had at least twice the following as the next biggest candidate, you would assume that Ron DeSantis would actually be able to cajole some support. Instead, he had lukewarm respect at most. He was monotone. He had no sort of conviction in the way he spoke, no confidence. There's no way that his wife isn't dry every night he shows up in bed. And that is exactly why Ron DeSantis does not have the charisma to be president in 2024. Adios.